First edition of our Cats review.
Yeah, what's
where
happening?
we recap a little bit of everyday life and football and the Kentucky Wildcats. What's going on, Larod?
Man, chilling, man. Thanks for having me. This has been a great invite, man. Great experience. Just being over to hang out, talk football, get back in the mix. Excited for this 2023 season. Like what I see so far. Let's jump right into it, man. What you think?
Honestly, or what a fan wants to hear?
Let's go honestly, man. The whole wishy-washy, what somebody wants to hear.
So, I've been a Kentucky fan since 97.
Okay.
And ever since then, I can only remember, we've talked about it a little bit before, I can only remember one, maybe two other times where Kentucky fans talked about football so much. One year was... I'm just being real, though. But
Yes, no.
the overall census, Andre Woodson senior year when he threw for 346, 360-something consecutive passes.
Yeah.
At that time, going into that game, they were 5th or 6th in the nation, undefeated, had South Carolina come in.
Yeah.
And then that one special year with Rich Brooks.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I wouldn't say people didn't talk, but I would say as far as the conversation didn't come with respect like it does today.
Well, I gotta beg to differ simply because, yes, Rich Brooks...
Well, you come from a different perspective because you played for 4 years.
Well, in a way, though, because it was exciting. Because honestly, when Dre went, we're from Radcliffe, Kentucky. And by the way, we have a roster full of people from North Hardin on UK's roster, by the way. So shout out to North Hardin, baby. Shout out to Radcliffe. We out here. But Dre made it exciting for me to commit, right? Beating Andre Woodson. We'll call him Dre.
Sorry.
You good.
Beating
LSU was huge when they were the number one team in the country.
That's
at the time.
what, that was, 3 overtimes? It was a Saturday.
It was a Saturday for sure.
15, 16 years ago?
It's roughly around. It's been a minute.
So you were in middle school then?
I was coming out of
you had to be because I just came out of high school for a couple years.
I was either 8th grade or freshman, one of the two.
Going into freshman.
Because
I was like 22.
So then, going into freshman year. So that was the time, and then I'll also say whenever Coach Stoops took over, it was a very, very exciting time. Just because he was bringing a new mindset, a new energy, and sometimes I would agree that every program should have a new coach, a new face. No more coaches in waiting because that honestly did not work. But it's just one of those things to where I think that was a time that it was exciting, and then I think we kind of like plateaued for a quick second, and now it's even more just because of how many players we have produced and got league ready and have actually like made an impact in the NFL.
Okay, now the flip side of that, you mentioned the word plateau. Mm-hmm. Well, let's be real here. We've the success of the kids outside of Kentucky has not plateaued.
What do you mean?
There's kind of hit a wall. But in all fairness, right now, ever since Stoops has been there and way before Stoops, we've only been competing for 3rd place. We've never been able to get the hump over Georgia and Alabama.
Well, here's the thing. We're playing the SEC, though.
That's the NFL of college football.
I'm saying, let's call it spade a spade. The SEC is, for sure, the toughest conference in the world, right?
Definitely with the additions of Texas and Oklahoma next year.
So
let's not forget that.
You got to think, you take day in, day out, playing the best of the best. You move Kentucky to a different conference, I guarantee we dominate that conference.
Probably so.
Because even still, I think what Kentucky has learned is that you have to recruit for the SEC. You can't just show up with
guys you think can do something.
Yeah, it has to be like legit.
Certain
Let me recruit to be able to play against my opponents and be, I guess, competitive. Because for a long time, I think we had players, but I don't think we had people with the right mindset. We had players who just wanted to be on the team, not necessarily who wanted to win a championship, and that was kind of it's a switch you got to change.
For sure.
You got to weed out the ones who had that mindset.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah,
definitely. Maybe then I guess the plateau wouldn't be there if Kentucky wasn't in the SEC.
That's kind of hard to say because every team's going to hit a plateau.
Well, maybe from the outside looking in, that Kentucky has hit a plateau.
Well, in a way, yes and no. Because it's really hard to when you have such dynamic, high-powered people.
Does your band say "Sleep is for Suckers"?
Sleep is for Suckers. Shout out to David Shands. Hey,
I know that's random, but I'm just trying to understand that "Sleep is for Suckers."
Hey, if y'all,
I'm a sucker then.
if you don't know who David Shan is, look him up, man. Social Proof podcast. We're talking about mental stimulation, helping you get to the next level. Is lit. But what I was saying though is like when Lynn Bowden left, right? He was a very targeted player. He's a key player, and their offense was literally surrounded around Lynn Bowden. So the next year,
The flip side of that, though, before you go any further, the success that Kentucky's offense actually had with him at quarterback
right?
is really out of this world when you think about it. And I'm not saying that because you're a former player.
Yeah.
We're sitting here talking. I'm not saying it because I'm now a fan of Kentucky. But, like, how quickly the offense had to transition to only cater to him.
Right.
They had a lot of success.
Right, 100%.
That's about the only time Eddie Grant will get a shout out.
But you know, it's a belief system.
All jokes. Eddie's a good football mind, just wasn't the right fit for Kentucky. It is what it is.
It is what it is, man. You gotta find ways to adjust during the season. You're gonna have injuries. You're gonna have setbacks. You're gonna have all these things. So then you gotta figure out how can I get the ball in the hands of my best player. But then when you lose so much of that, I guess capabilities, and you have to restart with a whole different. Now I got Will Levis coming in. He's a pocket-based quarterback who can scramble. But
I actually liked Will.
I love Will, but he's not Lynn Bowden. You know what I'm saying? And like they're not the same dynamics. But I think Will definitely put a stamp and set that bar to live up to expectations, showing what was possible. Because a few years ago, we're literally.
I compared him to a skinny Jarrett Lorenzen with the arm strength.
It's tough.
He potentially. I think if Will.
Andre. For real. Just without the running ability. Andre wasn't a good runner, but Will could run.
True, I'll give you that.
He commanded the offense, and he made things happen. Did he make the best decisions? No.
For sure not.
But coming from
that second year, there was zero linemen. You had us out there as offensive linemen. No disrespect.
But you gotta build, and that's where I'm talking about the different dynamics.
Yeah.
But they found ways to get players in to fit the mold of what they want to do. So I think that's key to leading into now. Now you got Devin Leary, who, again, I think he played decent.
The flip side of that,
he
though,
played decent.
They were talking about his injury because he had to have like elbow surgery or something like that, and I think it was James Andrews that did it. And Andrews is the one that does all the world famous athletes. They were talking on the game, whoever was commentating the game during the actual game, that Dr. Andrews himself said he had never seen that type of elbow surgery on somebody Leary's age.
Right.
Leary's only played, I think, Saturday when he started for Kentucky, that was only like his 31st to 35th collegiate game.
Right.
He's been playing 4 or 5 years. Dude's been hurt. I think if he can stay consistently healthy,
right,
there's no telling what he can do. The flip side of that, the offensive line is a lot better, so he has a better chance of being healthy.
Well, that's going to be the toss-up. And
you don't think the offensive line's improved?
I'm not saying they improved, but they're hurt. Like, we lost 2 before the season started. I think somebody got hurt.
You're right, we did.
Saturday.
I forgot all about that. Yeah.
So they're shuffling people around. It's just going to be a matter of how fast can we adjust early on before we get into SEC play. So now we got 2 more, I'm not going to call them, chip shot games, but the level.
Call it what it is, though.
I'm saying because anything can happen. And that's why I'm like, anything can happen. However.
Case in point, it's just making me think about it. Was it Texas State or Tennessee State that beat the dog shit out of Baylor? They didn't just beat them; they smoked them.
I don't know.
Was that an HBCU school that smoked them?
It might have been, because
Texas State or Tennessee State, one of them schools, dog walked Baylor.
I'm about to look that up.
Matter of fact, I'll do it now.
Yeah, because I was shocked about. Well, I can say I wasn't shocked because Florida's been on the decline, but when Florida got blew out by Utah, that was kind of like, wow, SEC got a.
Texas State beat them by 11.
Man.
Texas State, is that HBCU? I
don't know what Texas State is. They might be. I will say y'all better start playing with them boys HBCUs because Deion Sanders, took that squad out to Colorado and made it happen, man. And I was honestly going back and forth between the Kentucky game. I think when we had like maybe 5 minutes to go, I knew it was done. We flipped over and saw the Colorado game, and nothing but love for Deion Sanders, man, because to take all brand new people. I think there's maybe like 2 players from the original roster, maybe. And to change that mindset, get them all on the same page in a short amount of time, You know how long it really takes to build a program. It truly takes a long, long time. At least a good 2-year stretch.
He did it his first year
His
at
first year.
Jackson State, and then his second and third year they won 10 or 11 games, if not more, each season.
Right.
Just after that first year.
Man,
think about the impact he's already did just off one game. They're definitely going to struggle. They're going to lose, and I know a lot of people out there cannot wait
until they lose
for a brother to struggle. Let's just call it what it is. What do you say? Spade to spade.
Spade to spade. Spade to
but
spade.
like, just imagine what top tier talent he'll be able to top tier talent that will be willing to want to come to Colorado.
For sure. Well, not just Colorado. Let's say if
his son threw 500 yards. His child, flesh and blood. That is insane.
It's a belief. Like, I believe in you, but you also got to show up because he knows what it takes to not only win the collegiate level, but for sure the next level, right?
Yeah.
But then now to win, to dominate is a big difference between winning and dominating, right?
Yeah.
And that's where you just have to instill that belief into your players because, like, going back to Kentucky, I feel good, but we got it together our second half, but we didn't dominate all the way through. And that's where I'm saying I think Devin Leary played okay, but I don't know if it was the great because you throw a pick.
It definitely wasn't that great. Timid, at first, he got better.
A little nervous, but for his first time playing, at the stadium, I like what I saw.
So I'm looking it up now. He finished the game with 244 yards, 1 touchdown, 1 interception, and went 17 for 31.
So it's not bad. I'm saying it's decent.
Yeah.
But we need extraordinary. Like, that's what we're looking for, extraordinary. You got to have it. Picking up Ray Davis help from Vanderbilt, the running back, but still.
He did, what was it? He
looked decent too.
I think.
He looked decent. But he understands SEC football, so that's a great pickup for him.
He did 109 yards with 2 touchdowns on 14 carries.
And I'm saying that's not bad. It's not bad.
And then your boy from Frederick Douglass, Dan Key, had 96 yards for 1 touchdown.
Like shout out to receivers.
5 catches, and then shout out to Brown that had a 99-yard kick return.
Man, to the crib.
Yeah. Last year he had 100 yards. So in 2 kick returns, he's had 199 total yards.
He's
only a sophomore. So think about this. And I said this earlier to my buddy Brandon, that's a diehard Kentucky fan.
Yeah.
I said, Brown, and I'm just being real here, I don't see us beating. I know we got Alabama at home. We got Georgia at home too.
Hey man, listen.
No, you gotta let me finish though.
I'm not hearing none of that. I want to hear.
You gotta let.
I want to hear we gonna win. No, I don't want to hear we not.
So here's the thing. We got Georgia and Alabama at home, right? Or is it Alabama and Tennessee? I think it's Alabama. Look up the schedule real quick.
I think we got Alabama.
I know it's Alabama.
We got Alabama at the crib.
And then it's either Tennessee or Georgia also.
Let's see. All right. So we got Georgia
and Tennessee and Alabama. So here's what I said.
Yeah.
Would I like to see us beat both Alabama and Georgia? Well, of course.
Mm-hmm.
But I got to be realistic here.
Nah, I'm not hearing that.
No, man, bullshit. But I'll tell you what though. I'm going to tell you now. You got to let me finish. What Brown did Saturday, in either one of those games, Brown is going to do something like that or similar, and we're going to win because of that. Brown is that impactful of a player. He's only 20, 21 years old, so we got him for another full year.
For sure.
Thankfully for the 3-year rule.
Well, let me ask you this, right? So we're talking about that. What was the score last year, Kentucky versus Georgia at Georgia?
They didn't really get blown out like that.
No, bro. It was like 16 to 6 or 7 or something like that. It was a very low-scoring game. So all I'm saying is that we typically play well at Georgia.
And I just say that based on the history of when we've played them both in the same year.
But listen to me, though. We played Georgia.
And we weren't that healthy either.
Competitive. Yeah. Outside of Wandale Robinson at the time, really.
They didn't actually score that second half touchdown until late in the fourth quarter, if I'm not mistaken.
But we didn't have
Wandale.
No, we had Wandale.
That's
but that was kind of all we kind of based our offense on, right? Because they kind of locked in, double team pretty much every other play. I watch football a little differently now, right? But it's one of those things now. I feel like we have a more dynamic offense that's kind of spread out, so it makes us more competitive. As long as everybody stays healthy, I'm telling you, we got a shot being Georgia and Alabama. This year's roster is in the schedule it's up for the grabbing. Like every game's in the air for me, every single one.
We got Tennessee at Tennessee.
That's what I'm saying. It's still up in the air. Tennessee look good.
That's tough though.
But
I just say
shaky.
that environment. The environment's tough.
Man,
it ain't though.
Tennessee can't.
You play there, you know how tough it is.
They can be beat. I'll say.
I'm not saying they can't be beat. I'm saying the environment itself is tough.
Nah, man. Fuck Tennessee. I'm
just saying the environment is tough.
Man, their environment's weak. They're weak, dog. It's just a matter of. It's a matter of are we going to show up ready to play, and not necessarily ready to play, but ready to dominate. Because if you can smack Tennessee in the mouth at the crib, they're going to fold. Like they're going to fold. They're going to fold.
Speaking of smacking, Kentucky plays EKU next Saturday. And EKU now has a former Kentucky player that went to PRP, Dixon. No disrespect, dude's my neighbor. Shout out to Dixon.
Yeah.
I feel like some of them Kentucky players are going to want to be gunning for him because of him leaving.
You know, nah.
You don't think so? Because there was a lot of chatter on Instagram between them.
It's just a point to prove. You know what I'm saying? It's just look like a point to prove. Now, again, I said every Saturday is a toss-up because any given day you can lose. But, like, Kentucky has to come out and dominate. Put them away early. You don't got to worry about it. Like, destroy them. Dominate.
Yeah.
Because the whole second half, now all of a sudden we want to wake up, not going to happen. And you got to think football is all chess, right? It's all chess. It's all about making adjustments. But when the adjustments are made in the first initial, the whistle blows, it's man on man. I'm going to make sure I beat my man because you don't know what schemes are being created at the moment. You got to kind of see the pattern. What is the game plan? Nah, but if you start off, let's say you went man if it was mandatory for the whole entire SEC to go man to man, the first 2 quarters, then after that you can do zone and do whatever, just hypothetically speaking, it's all man on man. And that's kind of how you have to come out is just knowing that I'm going to dominate every single play. Like, not just be great, but dominate. And that's the mentality we got to win. That's the mentality going to help us win. You know, we could go a 9-10 win game season this year. For sure. I'm going to throw some sprinkles in there just because last year there's a lot of close games that were decided from usually a penalty or special teams error, which we harped about, right? But if we can clean that up, which I think we did, we looked pretty good, this game, then benefit of the doubt, because shit happens, I think we'll be all right.
Now, a lot of the naysayers, look at what's Stoops' overall record, and I compare that to a coach that's now a Louisville Bron, what his record at Purdue was. But, like, if you look at the impact of what Brom did at Purdue and the impact of what Stoops has done at Kentucky, I mean, it goes hand in hand. I mean, would we be talking about Kentucky football like we have and like we have been the last 10 years had it not be for Stoops? You got to consider that.
I do. Honestly, I wish I had 1 year to play with Stoops. I wish I did. I wish I would have redshirted. Should have faked the injury or something. No, I'm just kidding.
No, you're not. You're not, man. It's all good.
I wish I had 1 year with Stoops, man. I go on the record and say that. And only because I'll never forget, man. I'm not going to shout. I ain't going to put nobody on blast. But I had some former players call me at the time when I graduated. It was like, man, I can't get on the field, man. I can't get no clock. He's only messing with the boys he recruited. And in my mind, I'm thinking, just maybe he wasn't good enough or you wasn't what they were looking for.
Yeah. And
that was a real, I'm not going to put nobody down, right? But it's more so having a real conversation of understanding you have to prepare and get your mindset ready for the SEC, bro. This is not a hold your hand. This ain't high school. This is you come in, we expect domination. If you're not providing that, then you're not getting on the field. And I like Coach Stoops' his approach with that, man. If you don't fit the system, if you're not doing what I need you to do, then you can leave. I love it. I absolutely love it because it forces you to get out your comfort zone and like really step up, right? But great teams are led by coaches, right?
Yeah, for sure.
Legendary teams are led by players. So if you have the right leaders in place, then you can do anything. And I say that because playing against the Florida era with Tim Tebow, Aaron Hernandez, Riley Cooper, Jeff Dibs, Brandon. I can go on, right? Joe Hayden, all these like NFL superstar guys competed hand in hand with them, and it's just a matter of watching the leadership is what helped me just take notes for myself in life.
Yeah.
Okay, how can I lead like Tebow, right? We need more leaders like that. And honestly, during my time, we had a few, but we didn't have enough. And started with myself, right? I like as a leader in certain aspects too.
Shit, at least you're honest.
Yeah, man, for sure, because a lot of weight came on my shoulders early. Randall left his junior year, and it was boom. I'm like, okay, how do I figure this out, right? And during that time, there's a lot of transitions that are being made, so a lot of distractions to keep you from staying focused on what you're actually there for. But moving to the side, I think that Kentucky now has great leadership in place. And if you notice,
And you're talking about on the aspect for the players.
for the players.
Yeah.
For the players. I know Octavius Oxendine is a senior from North Hardin High School. Shout out to North.
Can you say that last name 10 times fast?
Octavius Oxendine. We call him Double O.
It's easier.
Way easier. Jordan Lovett, man. He's a senior, I think, or junior this year. Plays safety. He's
Either
from
one.
Radcliffe as well, man. And, I shout those guys out because
That's where you're from.
exactly. But not only that, they're making an impact, man. You know what I'm saying?
They're
Coming
impactful,
straight,
yeah, for sure.
they're making an impact. Lavelle Wright, he's hurt right now. Isaiah Beasley, man, he's been killing it. It's just a matter of when you have those type of quality guys, and then you see guys like Bud Dupree, Wandale, Will, Corey Peters. I mean, so many people who
He played over 12 years, something like that?
Bruh, something crazy. Larry Wolford's another one. He played for a long time too, man.
Is Wesley Woodard still in that league, or is he
I
retired
believe
now?
Wesley retired.
He played for a long time too. He was with Tennessee for the
10
longest.
plus. Randall Cobb. I mean, he's out with the Jets with Aaron. You know what I'm saying? Like, you see all these players, former players, who are still playing and making an impact, who actually come back.
True.
And
That's what helps the success of program.
But you got to have a good coach though too, who creates that culture and that atmosphere, and that's what let guys know, one, it's possible. Two, you're getting all the game you need, because every time you step on the practice field, every time you step on a game, that's your resume, right? That is your resume, and the question is, are you studying your resume? Are you studying the film? Are you doing what it takes to have that undefeated season if you want it, right?
Yeah.
To have that 11 game win season, you could do whatever. It's just a matter of how much time you're willing to dedicate and put in there. And I see that coming out of Coach Stoops and his program, his guys he has around, of teaching guys that mindset of what it takes to be legendary. So I like it. I'm excited.
Now, you mentioned Davis being the former running back for Vanderbilt. Kentucky, for the last 5 or 7 years, has had a history of running backs that left an impressive mark.
For sure.
Benny Snell and all them other guys. What potentials do you think Davis has at making a similar impact at Kentucky, knowing he's played in the SEC for how long now, so he knows what it takes and what you need to bring to the table? Do you feel like he has a chance to make a similar impact?
I feel like he does, and I say that, again, for every point you just made. He understands SEC football.
Yeah.
Right?
Which is major.
Which is a huge thing.
Yeah.
I think the one thing for him is staying consistent, and then also doing his best to remain healthy, because they're going to need him on the field. And I say that because when you have a power back, a power dynamic back, it opens up everything else.
Yep.
Right? Because that threat is always there. Now
I see his build. He's like a skinny Jerome Bettis.
Yeah, he kind of reminds me of Benny Snell in a way, right? I think he's I think Benny Snell is more explosive, but I think he's a little bit more shifty in a way, right? So
he's got power.
I think now he also has a more competitive teammates to play with, because Vanderbilt, I mean, I don't know much about the program, but Vanderbilt, for the longest, they tried to put Kentucky and Vanderbilt in the same bucket. But I think we're finally separating ourselves within the SEC.
God, I would hope so.
Right?
At least that part of it. No disrespect, but
honesty
is honesty.
It is what it is, right? Spade's a spade. But it's a matter of, I feel like now we have made a few statements, man, of being able to pull ourselves away from being the mediocre team.
Yeah.
Now, coaches really truly have to prepare for us, because we're a real threat, right?
Yeah.
So I'm feeling I'm feeling good. I'm feeling good about the season, man. Like I'm really feeling good because I'll be honest with you. Sometimes I'm like, I don't know, man. But nah, we're here. We're here.
Now, with Tennessee losing, is it Hooker? Hooker? How do you say it?
Hooker. Yep. And
Hooker.
what's the other receiver?
They lost another key player besides Hooker.
He plays for other. Where is he at? Is he in New York now? What is his name?
Two of them's gone in the league.
He was good. I was impressed. I'm gonna find his name, but go ahead.
I think, not saying that we couldn't beat him with this year's team if they were on there. I like our chances even more with them two key players gone.
No,
because
sure.
let's be real here, who wouldn't?
100%. 100%. I mean, because last year we got touched, man.
You're putting that lightly, buddy.
Nah, we got touched, man. I'll say that. But at the same time, though, I think that by the time we get to play Kentucky, or by the time we get to play Tennessee, I think we should be well enough polished to know what our strengths are, what our weaknesses are.
What we're capable of versus not. Gotcha.
So that way we can perform. Because there's still a lot of guys we have not seen really peak just yet. And any game it can happen, but once you see it, you see it. It's kind of like when you know a guy, right? You know what's going to happen. When you know it, when you see a guy.
Yeah.
Kind of like Coach Sanders' son, right? First game debut. What, over 500 yards passing, right? It just when you see a guy, you know a guy.
Yeah.
And we haven't identified that guy just yet. We have flashes across the board, but again, potential. But going back to Devin Leary, I felt okay, but I don't feel like he grabbed the team and was like, "Yo, it's on my shoulders." We finally got the ball rolling. It took everybody to click, but I'm looking for that guy. You know, that guy where, you know what, that's the guy.
Yeah.
It's just a matter of who's going to step up and take it.
Well, let's go back to the first half. I'm going to look up who made this play. Where's it at? Give me a second. It was, where's that? So who made the, Alex Afari laid the wood on that guy. I didn't see that guy move for a little bit. And then your guy, Geiger, is it Geiger? G-E-I-G?
I think I don't know. I ain't going to mess
Well, you get what I'm trying to say. Jalen Geiger scooped it up and ran 69 yards.
Oh, yeah.
Plays like that. Now, and I bring that up because you mentioned the word about a guy. Like, sometimes that guy doesn't even have to be the quarterback.
No, definitely
Case in point, when Josh Allen was there.
Right.
Ended up being a defensive guy.
Right.
Now, when you say that you're looking for a guy, is it more important for it to be a quarterback or whoever?
No, I got nothing to do with.
And I just say that quarterback because the quarterback is often looked at equally as the head coach.
Well, yeah, for sure. But it don't even got to be the quarterback. It just has to be. It has to be a guy
somebody willing to take on that responsibility.
Yes, the leadership, but then also perform, right? Because you can do all this woo rah rah, but then when the lights are on, it's your time to make a play. Okay, everybody in the world knows the ball's coming to you. Even the defense knows the ball's going to you, right? The question is, can you stop it?
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying?
That's the key, yeah.
That's the key, right? Can you stop it? And it's to having that trust of saying, you know what, I'm going to line my guys up, you line your guys up, I trust my teammates, I trust myself. We're going. It's 4th and 2, 10 seconds to go, and we got to have this. I trust my team.
Yeah.
And I'm giving it to my guy.
Definitely. Now, it's hard to really gauge what the team is capable of when you play against teams like these. Again, not to take anything away from teams like Ball State, EKU, who we're getting ready to play. Mm-hmm. They all train just as equally as hard as schools like Kentucky.
Yeah.
But you don't really know what you're capable of until you play top tier talent. It's really kind of hard to gauge.
Well, that's why I said that I was happy, but I wasn't over.
You wasn't fully content with it
because we didn't dominate. That team shouldn't even have had a chance to score. We should have just dominated the whole way through.
That first quarter looked ugly.
It was, but again, you're bringing almost all brand new aspects on both sides of the ball, right? We lost a few on the defense, we lost a few on the offense, so it's like, okay, let's look and see where we're at, and we're double timing on the film.
Yeah.
So we can speed the process up, right? Because from playing, beginning of the year, it's always you're nervous. It's the new jitters, right? You're trying to get a feel for just kind of get our groove. How can we gel? Towards middle of the season, it's okay. We're gelling.
Yeah.
Now it's time to punch it all the way through. Towards the end of the season, dude, you're ready for a playoff system. You're ready for it all, like because you should be performing at your top tier level by game 3, right? All the jitters is out, all the little knickknacks stuff is out by game 3.
If you hear a lot of footsteps, that's my dogs.
It's all good.
Is what it is. We got a few more minutes before we end this great first episode. The reason why, what folks need to understand, the reason why we've kind of been talking about a little bit of different stuff outside of just the game is because you can't really talk fully or carry on a conversation like that based off one game without talking about other topics. Mm-hmm. Given that you say you watched the game and you were able to pick up on a few things, who surprised you the most and who would you say disappointed you the most? I'm going to hit you with that. You go first, and then I'll go second.
I don't believe in disappointments. We ain't going for
Okay,
that.
all right. Okay. We'll go. If you don't want to, that's fine.
You know, I would say this.
You can't really say disappointments with the first game anyways.
Exactly. Like, I can't.
Give it a few more games. Then you can be disappointed.
I'll play like this. I was impressed with the whole O-line, right? It's
a vast improvement from last year.
Yeah, for sure.
Night and day, really, light switch.
But not only that, they lost, again, 3 key players on the O-line so far. And
are they ever coming back at all this year?
I think 2 of them are not. Or maybe one of them. I know one of them for sure. Can't think of his name top of my head, but I'll get it. But the thing is, they made the necessary adjustments and players stepped up. And that's what you need. And that's good to show at the beginning of the season. That's what we got.
Yeah.
We got players who can step up and we can win football games.
For sure.
Right?
Yep.
But it definitely takes a while, again, even for the O-line to gel because certain players, man, you might have some players who are stronger than others, but some that are way smarter than others, right? So as a coach, you got to be able to identify that and put people in position that they can best maximize to help the team. So there's still about to be some adjustments down the road. It's just going to say, okay, well, what works and what doesn't. Who's capable of pulling and getting over to the tackle, who's not. Because you gotta separate like that. The disappointments, there is no disappointments. I just don't
First game, you can't really.
First game, only thing I would say as a team-wise, again, I don't feel like we dominated. I feel like we played great, but I don't feel like we dominated like I wanted to.
I can see that. Not dominating like we should is a disappointment in some respects.
I want to dominate.
As a team, not individual.
Because there's the reason why the SEC is the toughest league in the conference, right? The toughest league in all college football. Other teams should be fearful to put us on the schedule. Like, they shouldn't be hopeful they can possibly
I will say this, for the first time in a long time, teams second-guess the outcome of playing Kentucky now.
Right.
It took us a while to get there,
Right.
but I'm glad we are, finally.
A little consistency, man. That's all it is, Just a little consistency, man, making it happen. And it's a matter of guys truly stepping up, man, and putting that mindset in. And it really, I would say that the moment I knew things were going to turn around and be like...
That's my 5-year-old upstairs, folks.
is when Bud Dupree, so I think either his junior or senior year, kind of set the tone, man.
I'm surprised he stayed off for it.
Yeah, man, went number 1. Him and Zadarius Smith, same thing. 2 guys, 2 first rounders, right, on both sides of the ball, or on the opposite ends, on defensive ends, and to be able to set the tone and set that wave, yeah.
As thankful as I am to have them two on the same team for multiple years at Kentucky, it's just kind of like, damn, if we'd have had that guy, like you were talking about earlier, if we'd have had that guy with them two on the opposite sides of the line on defense, damn.
Well, for sure.
It's like, shit. Not to take anything away from who we had at the time,
Sure.
but it's like.
Well, I'll say this. Bud is him, and he was him. He's still him. I'll ride with Bud all the way. Because teams had to prepare. They feared, right?
Yeah.
So they had to prepare. You had to game plan for number 2, Bud Dupree. You had to, right? But then once you game plan for him, you got to worry about what's on the other side.
Absolutely.
So
Smith.
You know what I'm saying? So
is he still in Green Bay?
I don't think so. Maybe he is. I gotta keep up.
He's still playing though, I think.
I'm pretty sure he's still playing. Last time I checked,
Or maybe Minnesota, one of them schools,
yeah,
one of them teams.
I gotta double check. It's been a while. So many moves, man. So many moves. But I just think that yeah, overall, I want to see Kentucky dominate. This next game versus EKU, especially with the transfer, right? You got to just set a statement. Like, punch them in the mouth, punch them early. Don't let up until the clock is 0. All right, 0-0. And shoot, just like did last night. Florida State did to who they play?
LSU.
Right?
Man, let me tell you,
instead of running the ball, they're just gonna score again. Punch them in the mouth. Man.
I made a status last night before the end of the game when I was working, and I'll read verbatim so I don't mess up any words.
Yeah.
And I don't care who sees it. I don't care who it gets to. But I kind of called out Coach Kelly. Let me see, where's it at?
Anyway, outside the SEC, man.
Hold on, I'll read it. I said, where's that? Kelly wasn't the right man for the job at LSU. He was just a simple, sexy hire based off his name at the time. He looks lost, depressed, and then some and more on the sidelines. You can't say that ain't all true based upon his body language. To me, and I say that based upon a saying that my father's mom said to me, my grandma Shirley, and I operate by this. The body speaks more than the mouth itself moves.
I would agree.
And his body was screaming shit all game.
Well, I'll say this too. I take two sides of that. You know, I'm an overthinker. One, we don't know.
Not bad.
We don't know what he has going on in his personal life. So
that is a factor.
He's still human.
That is a factor.
He could have some underlying health issues going on. You don't know, right? And you just don't know. But as a coach, you know the responsibility it comes with, especially being a head coach
of a university like LSU who just won a championship 3 years ago.
100%.
Was it 3 years ago or 4?
I think it was like 3 or 4. Joe Burrow, right? But then
shouts out to Urban Meyer saying he wouldn't be starting cornerback when he had him at OSU. Anyways,
but it's the matter of stepping up to the plate, being able to let all the other stuff go for that short amount of time, right? Turning it on, turning the rest of the world off. You got to live up to expectations, and we all know LSU
at that university.
LSU is a predominantly institution, right? But everybody, no matter where you go, there's going to have faces all the way through. But you still want to be competitive. Yeah, like yesterday. Yeah, excuse me. I don't feel like they were. I feel like they gave up. I feel like they definitely have some work to do. Some definitely clean it up.
Now, would you say the cleanup that they have to do before we get back in Kentucky, before we get ready to end this, would you say the cleanup that LSU has to do would be more like thoughts and mental than physical?
For sure. They play physical.
Because
they play physical.
When you start miscuing like they did last night,
right,
and you do that yourself, that throws you off your mental game.
For sure. And again, you're bringing in brand new players.
For sure.
Trying to work with what you got. Same thing with Florida. That's why I'm telling Kentucky, like right now, they have to dominate because LSU didn't look like traditional LSU. Florida
out of the last 5 or 6 years, anyway,
did not look like traditional Florida. Did not look like SEC Florida, right? And
they got embarrassed,
right? So.
Shouts out to y'all getting rid of the coach y'all had now that you got Billy Napier. Obviously, you know enough to be where you're at.
Facts.
Or you're a hell of a bullshitter.
One of the two.
Because that was definitely not Florida football. That was more non-football than LSU's non-football moment was last night against Florida State.
Oh, facts. Yeah, I would definitely.
Because Florida State at least put up, they at least got into LSU. At least got into the 20s. Florida didn't even score 20.
Nah, they did.
They got smoked.
But again, that's what I'm saying, because last year they had Richardson at quarterback. Florida did, right? And he was a dynamic player. He did so much. So it's hard to replace that without building everything else around that.
But again, the flip side of that, like you said earlier a few moments ago, your job as a college head coach, especially at the level of the SEC, is to be working on that, not 100%. To be focused just on that.
Right. But you would want
Would
to
you
have
see?
that.
Would you say, based upon the outcome of the first game, that may be it for Florida as far as they honed in on too much and didn't focus on everything that they needed to?
Not in the SEC. Any other conference, maybe, but not in the SEC. And I say
It's just
that
a different ball. It's a different breed.
Because next week, Florida could be blowing the next team out by 80 because they're using because they know the expectations.
They probably will. Depending on who they play.
Depending on who they play. But again, you never know because I'll say this: when the year that Cam Newton was at Auburn, right, when he was on Florida's bench behind, that was a crazy squad.
Chris Leak.
That was a crazy squad.
And then you come back with Tim Tebow,
right,
and Cam Newton.
Ignorant. But when the year he was at Auburn, his senior year, I think we lost
2014.
We lost by 3. We lost by a field goal. But you know what? Our season was okay. I think we went to a bowl game that year.
Competitive, though. That's the main thing. Kentucky, for so many years, Kentucky struggled to be competitive. At least for the last 10 years or so, we've been actually competitive for the most part. We struggled for a while to get to that point.
Yeah, but I say that because we knew that we had to play at a much, much higher level to be competitive, right? We had to be on cue. We had to take care of all the small things, right? And that's what we have to do. We have to treat every team because we have to treat every team like they're number one in the country. Like, that's the mindset you got to have. We're playing against the number one team in the country. Because now I'm going to step and elevate my game up to the highest capacity that I possibly can, which you should do every game. But every player has to have that mentality to take it to the next level. Like, if I'm boxing, I got to worry about me and me only, right? It's just me and my opponent. But when you're on football, you got 11 players on both sides of the ball that you have to make sure everybody has
plus
that.
The 40-plus on the bench.
Right. We got to all be in sync because...
How many are actually out of dress? Is it it's in the 50s, right?
I think it's different from NFL. I don't know because 53-man roster. I think it's different.
So it's more?
I think it's a little bit more.
60-ish range?
I would guess. I'm not into that side. I was more worried about, hey, what play we got? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I don't know. I didn't ride the bench too long, so it was more so I'm in the game. But I don't know, bro. I think that we have a really good shot. I like what we're doing. To my point with Florida and LSU, SEC is not outside of Georgia, Alabama. Getting the respect that we talked about earlier.
Yeah.
I think it's a toss-up. Mississippi State, Mississippi, they're always going to be Mississippi State and Mississippi. Like, they're going to have a good running. Who knows? Who knows? We talked about a little bit earlier. Jordan Watkins, man, former Louisville Cardinal, balled out first game.
Had over 105 yards receiving with a 7-yard scamper to the house.
Man, for sure. But I'll tell you what, though.
I wish he'd have stayed at Kentucky like he originally was supposed to.
Man, he's at Louisville. Did he go to Kentucky?
He originally committed to Kentucky before going to Louisville.
Man, he should have stayed, yeah.
Imagine.
J-Dub, you should have stayed. But I'll tell you what now, okay? Louisville has a receiver coming from North Hardin High School.
I hope little Sean. I hope little B does the flip side of that.
They got a receiver coming, Sean Boykins.
People change. I hope he changes his mind and goes to Kentucky.
I hope you come to Kentucky, Sean, because man, I would say Louisville was impressive in their first win.
Sean's what, 6'3" himself?
He's
junior.
6'3", 6'2".
Dad's about average height. He's not short.
His dad was actually my track coach, so there's a reason why he runs a 4.2, right?
Yeah.
And he
I know who his dad is. We know each other. Yeah.
Yeah, Mr. Boykins, man. So he got me together, help on my way, mindset, but then also like learning how to run properly, right, and running routes, all that good stuff like that. But I would hope that Kentucky would see him on the radar and try to pull him because, I would love to see him in a Kentucky shirt. Just continue
Given
that
he's coming from the same place you came from.
Right. Both playing receiver and kind of just seeing that goes. But if he does stay and attend Louisville, I'll cheer for him when he's not playing Kentucky, of course. But I want to see him ball, though, man, just because 6'2", 4'2", speed is rare. I was not a 4'2" guy. I wish I was. But, man, dude, I'll tell you, he's a dynamic player, and I'm excited for the future, man. And Kentucky's receiver core, they're fairly young,
They are.
With juniors and I think
sophomores.
Brown. Is Dan Key a senior this year, or is he a junior?
Sophomore.
Sophomore? No, I think he's a junior. Let me see.
I know Brown's a sophomore.
Yeah, man. I think we still got plenty.
I'm pretty sure.
Plenty of players.
I'm pretty sure Key might be a sophomore too.
No, let me see. Dang, he's a sophomore. Yeah, so we got a very, very, very young receiver.
So our two
That's
best
capable.
receivers are sophomores. We have them for guaranteed one more year,
Man.
unless they leave. I don't want them to, but stuff happens.
Stuff happens.
Unless they leave, we have our two best receivers for another year.
So if we can get, well, we got guys, but we need one more it, man. And at least for the offense, we're looking good. Defense wise,
I think we're straight.
I think we're all right. I love our secondary. Our key is going to be, can we stay healthy? J.J. Weaver's a monster. Octavius Double O's a monster. They got a big guy, I think last name Davies. He's in the middle. He's from Detroit. I know
It's like
that.
6'6".
Yeah. he's a
or
big
bigger.
guy.
He's insanely huge.
If we stay healthy, we're going to the SEC championship. If we stay healthy.
Okay. Before we end this, I'm going to ask you about that, and then we'll end it with a different segment.
Mm.
Now, if he does that, if Stoops is to get to the SEC championship, whether it be this year or next year, considering Kentucky's really never been that far since Paul Bear Bryant, 80 years ago, something like that.
Bam.
That would be like, just being real, that would be like, it ain't the national championship, but it would, for a Kentucky fan who's struggled so much with everything from the outside looking in, would you say that would be like getting to the national championship, getting to the SEC championship? Because that, to me, I mean, you want to get there, but it's all progressions. Progression comes with steps.
Facts.
And you got to take the necessary steps first.
So I'm going to tell you, like my mentor, Keenan Burton, shout out to you, bro.
We need to have him on.
Yeah, what Keenan told me, man, and it forever changed my life. So my mindset at the time was to get to the league. It wasn't to stay in the league, right?
You don't think about that when you're young.
You gotta, because like I'm gonna get to the league. Nah, it's to stay in the league. So to get to the national championship or the SEC championship rather, I get what you're saying. Yes, it will feel good because I don't think it's ever been done before.
I don't think it ever has ever since Paul Bear Bryant.
So, for the fans, I think it's one thing, but for a player,
you have a different perspective.
This is cool. But the national championship is what we really want.
What it is.
It's what really counts at the end of the day, right? And I think that if we were to go to the SEC championship and then win it, it gives us all the momentum in the world to definitely lock down a national championship. And you talk about setting couches and stuff on fire, what they do in Kentucky, man, it'll be, oh no, man, it'd be Armageddon out there, dog. But I think that there's a year to do it. And everybody says that every year, but this is truly the year to do it. Because, yes, Georgia looks dominant, Alabama looks dominant, but that don't mean they can't be beat. Just like last year, they were out the Final Four, right? Like, they were a 2-game loss. Okay, cool. The TCU.
Let us be one of those reasons you got a loss.
Why not? You know what I'm saying? Like, why not? So,
because honestly, if we beat both, either one of them or both, one of them's not going to be in the SEC championship based off that loss.
Man, look.
Beating us.
Look.
Or us beating them, sorry.
I just want every Kentucky fan to keep that same energy. If we go ahead and sweep the SEC, we win every game in the SEC.
God, I would love that.
You know what I'm saying?
We do that, I'll dye my hair blue.
Okay, bet.
Shake on it.
All right, beard and all.
Hair, not beard.
You didn't specify.
I can't do both.
Oh, okay. Cool.
Either one.
Oh, Smurf.
Which one would be more embarrassing? Beard?
Probably the beard, because it's going to take a while to wash off. It's going to stay there for a long time.
I'll do the beard.
Do the beard? All right,
I'll shave my beard before I have to die, though.
Wow.
So let's end this with our gem of the day segment. So for me, my gem would be do as I say, not as I do.
Okay.
What would yours be?
Do as I say, not as I do.
And I say that because...
Do as I say, not as I do. I don't like that one. I don't like it.
Well, my father always told me that.
Do I don't like your father?
Most people don't.
Respectfully.
But I just say that because, like, sometimes people can tell you better than they can show you.
I think the best way for you to show me is for you to do it. Because if you tell me and then you do completely the opposite, I'm looking at you like, bro, that's not 1 and 2, or 1 plus 1 is not adding up to 2. This is not adding up to 2. You know, you can't tell me you don't drink, but then you knock down a bottle of a fifth or something, a fifth of Jack. But you know what I mean? So it's like that don't even make sense. Like what?
Yeah, I'll knock a couple. I know me personally, I'll knock a couple back, but I'm gonna take care of what I need to before I do that.
And that's different because now you're setting the standard, you're setting the expectation. Like, yeah, take care of business first. But if you're just just saying one thing, but I don't leave that alone. My gym, I got so many of them, bro.
Can only be one.
Gonna be one. I would say this. The past is history, right? The future is a mystery, but today is a present. And that's why it's called a gift, right?
Mm-hmm.
A present is called a gift because you stay in the present moment, then everything else will take care of itself. Because a lot of times we spend so much time holding on to what used to be that we can't let it go to get prepared for what's about to be, right?
Exactly.
So, and then some people get so far in the future, they forget to be right here, just be in the moment. And so I think staying in the present is the hugest advice I could ever give to anybody. Because, like, even playing college football, the times where you want to slack off or you want to take a day off just because your body's beat up, you're hurt, you're tired, maybe your family's not doing well, something's going on, right? But you still got to perform.
Yep.
Like you're on the full scholarship, you still got to perform. So at the end of the day, all the sacrifices you make will be worth it when you can get through and push through to the other side and hopefully get you an NFL contract, you know what I'm saying? And go from there, man. Chase your dreams and play as long as you can play. But more importantly, become a better person along the way. So, yeah.
Larod, I'm going to thank you for your time.
Yeah, man.
We'll be seeing these folks next